Liberty is often described as the freedom to choose who we want to be. But what happens when the very first thing that defines us is something we never get to choose? Our name. A name can carry assumptions, expectations, responsibility, and for me, growing up, my name carried something else as well. I'm sitting in a classroom and attendance is being called and the teacher pauses. There's a silence that stretches just a little too long. I know it's coming. My name is next. My face burns and my stomach drops and I have this internal debate. Do I let them try? Do I pretend I didn't hear? Do I correct them? I'm only in 4th grade and I'm already questioning my identity. I should be worried about how Harry Potter is going to escape from Voldemort in my newest reading adventure. I should be playing under the beautiful blue skies of my hometown. I should be jealous of Emily's Twinkle Toe Skechers, not jealous of the way that her name fits in, the way that mine never will. Growing up, I hated my name. I didn't understand why my name being different from everyone else's was such a big deal, but eventually I realized it wasn't my name, it was what it told people about me, what I represented. I have an Iranian name. People didn't always say their assumptions out loud, but I could feel them. The slight shift in tone when they would ask where I was really from, the way that conversations about terrorism or war would suddenly feel heavier if I was around. The unspoken connection to 9/11, to the Iraq War, to the headlines that had nothing to do with me. Being so young, I didn't know who I was yet, but it seemed like everyone else did. So I started asking myself questions. Who am I allowed to be? Who do people see when they see me? Who do I see when I see myself? I started to feel like I didn't have the liberty to just be another girl who rolled her eyes or said the wrong thing or misspoke. Instead, I had this responsibility that came with my name, and I became hyper aware of myself. Be polite, be impressive, be kind, be articulate, prove them wrong. That was the responsibility that my name required, the way I carried my name. I can't remember when I started daydreaming about Isabella. Isabella is my middle name, and my mom gave it to me in connection with my Mexican roots and to my Nana's love of God. And I remember thinking Isabella was so light, so easy. If I could go by Isabella, no one would bat an eye. Isabella was light. My name was heavy. This feeling continued. One day in 8th grade world history class, we were learning about ancient civilizations when suddenly my teacher pulled me aside. Your last name is Iranian, right? Khatibi Nori. I always thought that was so interesting. Nori? I didn't know anything about the second last name. So I went home that day and I asked my dad about it. You didn't know? Well, it's special, you know. Your uncle and Bob Majid are the only ones in the family who have it, and it shows people where we're from, the northern part of Iran. How did I not know my full name? I was in 8th grade, and I didn't even know my last name. But I decided that if I had to embrace this new last name, had to carry this, that I would do so in the context of my extended family. I remember all my aunts smiling, so proud of my recognition of my last name, my uncles saying how cool my dad was for giving it to me, how cool I was for living up to this responsibility, this legacy, this history of our family. But my favorite thing about my last name was that I shared it with my grandfather, Baba Majid. Baba Majid is someone who is so special to me. He's so distant, but so familiar at the same time. I remember his hands smooth and rough all at the same time. I remember laying with him on the couch while we ate coffee ice cream and watched Downton Abbey. I remember the songs he would sing to us in Farsi about little birds chirping. But as I got older, I learned about a different side of him. a man who took his family and escaped from Iran before the 1970s revolution, a man who worked long, hard hours owning 7-Elevens to give his family a good life in America despite having a master's degree in chemistry, a man that even though he went through all of this pain, all of this loss, was still the most kind and caring person I ever knew. So if I had to have this new last name, at least I shared it with him. I went to school the next year proudly claiming the title of Khatibi Nori. I was on everything that I own, from all of my paper assignments to even my lunchbox. And I got away with it for about a week until one of my friends asked me about it during lunch one day. Suddenly I had this audience of teenage girls all looking at me like I had grown two heads, not just a second last name. And then they started saying my name, but saying it all wrong, mispronouncing it on purpose, laughing in my face. So I erased it from all the tops of my papers, erased it from anything that could be connected to me. By the time I was 16, I had switched schools and I had made new friends, but I still wasn't living in my name, living up to its full meaning. Getting a job at Beaver Street Brewery, a local restaurant, quickly changed that. Hi, my name is Mina. I'm going to be your server today. Do we want a few more minutes with the menus, or can I grab anything right away? Nina? No, it's Mina with an M. It's Iranian. A look of shock would flash on their faces, and honestly, I was kind of shocked too, claiming that part of myself so openly, but I figured it was better than playing 20 questions with someone before I'd even brought drinks or an appetizer out. Something shifted though, working at that local restaurant. While I wasn't the timid 8th grade girl trying to explain her name to her friends anymore, I still hadn't fully leaned into the responsibility of my name. Later that year, my grandfather, Baba Majid, passed away. And every time I introduced myself, I felt like I bit my tongue instead of speaking my forgotten last name, speaking my name proudly. And I wondered if he could ever forgive me. I walked up to table 43 and suddenly paused. There was a family sitting there looking very similar to mine. They all had deep-set brown eyes framed by prominent eyebrows, hair dark brown like mine, and skin tan with a radiance that shines all year round. I went up to them and I did my introduction again, but this time I was met with different questions. Mina, are you Iranian? What's your last name? Khatibi Nori. Khatibi Nori, how beautiful. Do you know Farjun? She's down in Scottsdale. This was odd. Usually my name requires an explanation, but to them it was an invitation. And finally, I was able to say my name, my full name, out loud. I've stopped correcting people before they finish saying my name. Started saying it slower. Stopped wishing for Isabella. Yes, my name carries responsibility, but it's the responsibility to remember family, history, legacy. And finally, it's liberating to say. Because there are people right now in Iran whose voices we can't hear, whose names we may never know. And it reminds me how lucky I am to say mine out loud. While we don't get to choose our names, we eventually get to decide what weight they carry, how we hold them. While your name might not be Iranian, it might not have a connection to all of the headlines going on right now, you still have an identity, a history, a meaning, a story. When you hear your name, what do you think? What do you feel? Do you shrink or do you stand? Because claiming your name, whatever it is an act of liberation. It's saying, this is who I am, not who you assumed I'd be, not who you reduced me to. This is me. My name is Mina Isabella Khatibi Nori. Mina, blue skies like the ones over my hometown. Isabella, devoted to God, something that guides me every day. Khatibi, speaker, a responsibility I'm learning to live up to and why I'm here today. And Nori, light, something that grows in me every day. My connection with Baba Majid. My name is Mina Isabella Khatibi Nori.